Hey guys, welcome back to more homeowner association stories. In this video, an insane HOA Karen terrorized the entire neighborhood by constantly calling the police on non-HOA members. Let's dive right into the video. So my neighborhood has an HOA in one of the most loose definitions in the world. Only about 20% of the homes are part of the HOA, and the board are basically just figureheads on paper that don't do anything. I'm sure when it started it had a bit more enthusiasm, but at this point it is basically dead in everything aside from the name. A woman moved into the neighborhood recently, and I guess when she bought the house saw that it was technically part of an HOA. This woman I shall call Karen for fairly obvious reasons that will become apparent shortly. Now, Karen was convinced that the HOA bylaws were some holy scriptures that everyone had to abide by, despite the fact that these rules were outdated and nobody followed or cared about them. I mean, everybody still kept their properties clean, of course, and the obvious stuff like that. Karen was more focused on the tiny details of rules and felt like they had to be followed to a T. Not just her following the rules, and not just the home's part of the actual HOA, but instead every single house around her. Now, I was unfortunate enough to have Karen be on my block since we were the homes most easy for her to find issues with and complain about. I find it important to note that despite the HOA being dead and the fact that she had just moved in and had zero authority, I also was not part of this HOA to begin with. She had tried telling me on a few occasions how I was apparently breaking HOA rules and I had to change some things and comply with them. Very small things too that I don't even think normal HOAs would care about. One time I had a little too much garbage for my bin, so I just left a bag on the ground next to it for pickup. Karen saw this and threw a fit like I had left some biohazardous materials outside. The first time she acted like this, I really chalked it up to her being new and not knowing that things were not so strict around here. I attempted to talk to her and quickly realized that it was a pointless endeavor. It is okay for me to do this. People do it all the time and nobody gets in trouble for it. Karen, it says right here in the HOA bylaws that all trash must be placed in an appropriate receptacle. I get that, but my bin was full. Plus, I'm not actually part of the HOA. Most people around here aren't. I really assumed at this point that she was just trying to be nice, and I did not know yet that she was a true Karen. Well, that was about to change. Karen, every home is part of an HOA, and the rules of it must be followed or society will collapse. The only thing that keeps a neighborhood in order is the HOA and the rules. I will be keeping an eye on you from now on and will make sure to report what I see. Okay, you do that. I was not gonna fight with her at this point because it was obvious that she was totally crazy. The only solace I had was that she was not targeting only me, but everybody she came across with the same type of mentality. And by the way, Ripe Stars, is it just me or do these HOAs also remind you of Eastern Germany in the worst way possible? And I don't mean modern day Eastern Germany, instead the Eastern Germany that existed from 1949 until 1990. Honestly, I think at one point she was just making up rules because I couldn't believe the things she was actually claiming we couldn't do. My neighbor Alex got chewed out by Karen because his dog was not on a leash, but his dog stays on his property and has one of those invisible dog fences. It did not matter to Karen, who claimed the HOA said all dogs must be on leashes if they are outside of the home. Also tried to claim the invisible fence was not allowed either because it didn't follow the HOA rules on actual fences. Then my other neighbor Ben had a 20-minute long fight with Karen because she was trying to claim that there was graffiti on his property. The horrible gang tags in question were that his 2 children had used chalk to draw all over their driveway. That one at least ended with Ben destroying her because he went full protective parent mode at somebody, trying to yell at his children for just playing. These 2 neighbors, by the way, were also not even part of the HOA, so even if they did anything against it, it shouldn't have mattered. And the only person that cared about any of this was Karen, who was quickly making a name for herself as the crazy lady nobody should go near or make friends with. Now we get to what makes her a Karen in my opinion, because everything else up to this point is nothing compared to what she started doing next. So she started going around and leaving notes for everybody, marking down their violations and how much damage it was doing to our individual property values. She was really doing research on what our homes were worth and started subtracting based on that. She claimed to know everything there was to know about real estate and that she had a fantastic portfolio. I did my own research and found that she only owned the one property and clearly didn't know anything about real estate or what she was talking about. Since her advice for us to follow the rules fell on deaf ears, she thought it would be a wonderful idea to just start calling the police on people who were breaking the rules. What happened with me specifically is that my front door was in desperate need of a fresh coat of paint. I was checking out the paints at the store and I was checking out the paint at the store and found this really vibrant teal that I was drawn to. I decided to say screw normalcy and use that for my new door color. Karen saw the door and freaked out more than she had about anything else, going on an absolute tirade about me not picking from the approved HOA color palettes. I later found out that a rule like that did not even exist and she was just pulling it out of her rear. At this point I was sick of Karen trying to tell me that everything I was doing was wrong, so I said, I've told you half a dozen times I'm not inside the damn HOA, I'm not part of them. And by the way, none of the people you've been harassing are. Karen, all the homes are in an HOA, that's how it works. Me, no, it doesn't. If you had not noticed, you're the only member on this entire block and the only person that seems to even care about it, so how about next time you have an issue, you just keep it to yourself. Karen, how dare you speak to me that way? My HOA dues pay for everything that you enjoy and freeload from by not paying. I basically own this street because of what I'm paying for. Alex and Ben had both heard the screaming and were watching Karen totally lose it and go on a rant that she owned our houses since she was the only one who paid her HOA dues, and that meant I had to get permission from her now on what color I wanted my door to be. She wanted her words and opinions to be the law and nobody was gonna get on board with that. She demanded that I went and changed the color of my door, which I flat out refused to do. I told her that she was not my boss and I didn't have to listen to a damn word she said. Alex and Ben were now agreeing with me as she was trying to tell them off as well. Karen pulled out her phone and did the most Karen thing she could have. Called the police on all three of us. They came and she said that all of us were breaking the law and wanted us to be arrested. When the police questioned her on what we were doing wrong, she had the following thing to say. First, she claimed that I had painted my door an unnatural color and it was gonna cause drivers to get distracted, crash and die. Second, she claimed that Ben did not have a license to run a daycare. She refused to believe that two kids always around were actually his because he did not have a wife. Finally, she claimed that Alex was harboring a dangerous animal and since a dog technically could bite somebody in the future, they had to make him get rid of it. The police were not amused by Karen trying to claim all of this and warned her not to call them again unless there was an actual emergency. This did not stop Karen and instead she felt the need to double down on what she was doing. She left me notes for everybody on the block that looked legal and professional, but looking closer, it was obviously just done by her and not even that great. The notes claimed that since she was the one on the block paying dues, that meant she owned the block and we would now have to follow her rules. I skimmed the letter and cannot remember all of it, but I do know that she had written in that breaking the rules would result in her taking away our homes. Basically putting a lien on them despite having no authority to do so. Things did not change and before we knew it, the police were back again because of what Karen was saying. This time she told the police that she owned all the houses on the block and wanted every single person evicted as we were not following HOA rules, and that meant she could take our houses. Police did not even need to check if she really owned the homes and were not happy to be back again because of Karen. Instead of them doing what she wanted, which was to kick us all out or arrest us, they had other plans. They arrested her for wasting police resources and for disturbing the peace. My neighbors and I also decided to press charges of harassment against Karen just to really make sure that she got in some kind of trouble. The HOA board was actually notified and had zero clue who Karen was and told the police that she had no connection to the HOA or authorization to try and make rules or enforce them. Karen was angry and didn't even want to go with the police until they threatened to tase her if she didn't comply. I don't know exactly what happened to Karen, but she was gone for a couple of weeks before she came back, and just as fast as she had come to our neighborhood, she had packed up her house and was just gone. It was a little surreal because of how big a presence she had been to just be gone like she never existed, but we were happy about it though and made jokes that the next person to move in would be a serial killer or something. And yeah guys, then again, what is worse, a serial killer next door or a Karen? I'm not exactly sure. Either way, the next one is titled, My 21 female boyfriend 22 male gets so jealous over his brother's 26 male girlfriend 28 female that he cries until he vomits. And by the way, if you've watched until here, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments if you want to show your support. My boyfriend Jake and I are high school sweethearts and share an apartment with his brother Finn. Finn has been seeing a woman named Bonnie for the past 3 months. They met over Tinder, and with certain restrictions lifting, we are finally getting to spend time with her IRL. She's a really great person, and she and Finn are stupidly into each other. Like accidentally finishing each other's sentences in love, staring at each other with big gooey eyes in love. It's kind of gross but kind of sweet, and a couple of days ago I noticed that Jake's been acting weird. He had been a lot quieter and a bit colder to me, going to bed early, getting up late. I tried to kiss him and then he turned away. Yesterday when Finn was out, I asked what was up with him, and he started off kind of hostile, but when I said it I was really feeling hurt, he blew up. Summarized, he told me that he was rethinking our entire relationship after listening to his brother talk about Bonnie. He said that Bonnie asked for Finn's preference when she cut her hair and didn't get bangs when he said he thought they looked stupid when I got a pixie without asking Jake what he would think first. He said that Bonnie kissed a cucumber every night before bed and one every morning when he woke up, when I don't really like it myself. He said I never offered to give him massages or pack his lunch. For clarification, I do things for him all the time, but we've never been lovey-dovey. We don't even celebrate Valentine's Day, his suggestion. We both always agreed that it was stupid and, well, unrealistic. In fact, we always used to make fun of people for being sappy and definitely gave Finn hell for a bit over being so gooey. He was crying by the end of it, saying that he felt sick over missing out on someone who would love him that much. I said I loved him, but he did not want to hear it. He started gagging and threw up a little bit because he was crying so hard. I didn't know what else to do, so I got him some water and went to bed. I went to work early and I've been hanging out at a coffee shop, but I have to go home soon. I've no idea where to go from here or what to say to him. I don't even know if we are still together. Help? Just with all of this crap. Some people in the comments said, in a million years I would never be able to look at my partner again. If they said something like this to me, I would be out the door for good. And then started crying so much that they threw up. No thank you, that kind of entitlement and immaturity is a boner killer. Another person said, he sounds like a grown-up version of Eric from South Park. Update, sorry I didn't respond to anyone's comments. I went home after posting, and by the time I logged back onto Reddit, the post had been locked. A few of you asked for the update, so here it is. So I am single now. I came home and Jake was gone. Finn was there and asked if I could sit down for a bit. He would not give me the exact details, but said that he and Jake had talked while I was out. He also showed me a few text messages to prove it. Apparently, Finn had never shared any details with his brother, but Jake had been able to hear them moan through the walls when Bonnie stayed over. It wasn't a bro talk or anything at all, just a man I thought I was gonna marry listening to his brother have intercourse through the walls. Neat. When Finn got home from work, Jake tried joking about it and made comments about Bonnie's race. Finn then kicked him out, and now Jake is gonna be staying with their parents, so I have to pay his share of the rent too because Finn refuses to let him in and Jake refuses to come back. Double neat. A few people had questions, so here we go. Did Jake ever mention wanting romantic gestures? No, we actually got together because we were the only goths in school. We bonded over being against lovey-dovey stuff like that. We grew out of the edgy phase, but yeah. He always was firm that he hated Valentine's Day and women who needed roses or gifts to feel loved. Has he never done anything like this before? Well, now that I think about it, yeah, he has thrown tantrums before, but never like this. Things like carry-out orders for getting his side dishes or stores running out of his favorite items always made him really emotional. I feel sorry for Bonnie. I don't want to know any more details about their relationship, but they seem happy. They work at the same high-intensity job, think physical trainers or OT, so she packs meal prep bento boxes for him and herself. Finn buys her flowers, fixes her car, goes over when spiders get into her apartment. Like I said, they are cute. Either way, if you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like the video and maybe even leave a comment, because that would help me tremendously. Thank you so much, and the next one is titled Revenge Done Right. When I first left home to go to university, my parents co-signed a mortgage for me on an apartment-style condo in a small Canadian city. This was 20 years ago, so it came in at a whopping $52,000. They thought that this was a much better and economical choice than trying to find an apartment and deal with landlords. I loved the idea and moved into my new home. The building was almost entirely populated by the 65+ crowd. It was small and only had 24 units split into 2 halves. I had a basement condo. It was a nice place, nothing fancy, but amazing for a student. I was young, 19, but I was quiet, kept to myself, and did not do the whole party thing. I got along with most of my neighbors. I would help them out moving heavy things or carrying groceries upstairs. I was acutely aware of the age gap and the general image of an university student, so I made sure to just be an all-around great guy to avoid conflict. The one person I could never see eye to eye with was my upstairs neighbor. For a 70-year-old woman that couldn't have weighed more than 100 pounds, she walked like a damn elephant. She would have gospel music on her TV at max volume at 5 AM on Sundays, and she would make remarks about "that damn kid" whenever something was left out of place. She even went so far as to accusing me of breaking into her car and making a police statement saying she saw me do it. Unfortunately for her, I was out of the country on an internship at the time, but she still persisted being a pain in my rear. I tried to approach her about the TV issue, and her response was to make sure that it was no longer just Sunday. After a couple of years of attempted diplomacy, it was clear that nothing I did would make things better. Others in the building probably knew she had it out for me, and why would this adorable little old lady try to lie and get me thrown out of the building by the condo board? By the way, she tried at least 11 times while I lived there. 7 years into my time living there, I was at my job with an ambulance service just north of the city. I got called to a shooting. The guy shot his neighbor in a land dispute. The neighbor survived, but there was of course gonna be a police investigation. The investigating officers called me to get a statement and offered to just come over to do it rather than have me travel. One of them was a constable I'd worked with quite a bit, so I said sure. We set a time for about an hour after I would get home from work. I was just getting out of the shower when they burst to get into the building. I said, "Come in, I'll be out in a second." I hit the door buzzer and quickly grabbed some pants and a shirt. I heard them come in and then walk upstairs. As I'm trying to throw on clothes, I hear them knock on my upstairs neighbor's door. They introduced themselves as being from RCMP, Major Crime Division, and that they were looking for me. Balls. She says, "Oh, he lives downstairs. What do you want with him?" They thanked her and informed her that they couldn't say as it was an active investigation. My heart sank, but then I had a thought. It only took about 15 minutes to do my statement and they went on their way. And then the fun began. I knew the rumor mill would be starting. She would tell everyone that would listen that Major Crimes was looking for me and that I must be some sort of criminal. I decided to see where this went. Pretty soon, I'm getting side-eye in the hallway, neighbors are steering clear of me, so I know she's been talking. Turns out I've been arrested for robbery and kidnapping and must be out on bail according to her. I found this out when one of my neighbors who was on the condo board showed up with a letter demanding an explanation and threats to have me kicked out. I asked him what this was all about and he said, well, Linda, not her name, sent us a letter about what had happened and we had to have an emergency board meeting because people don't feel safe with you here. I said that per the bylaws of the condo board, before any action could be taken, I could request a meeting to review and provide a defense. Linda was on the board, so I knew that she had been there. They set a date for a week from then, but I was given a caution that it didn't look good for me and that I would have to do a lot of explaining. The meeting day comes, Linda is sitting smugly looking at me, the other board members are giving me dirty looks. The board president asks what I have to say in my defense. I stand and quietly distribute a letter on RCMP letterhead signed by the regional superintendent that says, Mr. Sen Medic is not under suspicion of any crimes, past or current, and has not been arrested, detained or questioned as a suspect in any criminal matter. His duties as a paramedic will often require him to make statements in regards to ongoing investigations, and in this instance, on date, investigators had gone to obtain a statement about an ongoing investigation for which he was professionally involved. At no time did the members discuss, disclose or in any way indicate that he had any involvement in any wrongdoings. I'm deeply saddened by the necessity of this letter, and we will be reopening an investigation into a previous incident regarding false statements made against him. You could tell when people read and understood it. The dirty looks shifted from me to Linda. She exclaimed that it must be a forgery. She witnessed me being led off in handcuffs. She pleaded that they should believe her. It did not help her. I stood and addressed the board and outlined the years of abuse and harassment, including the false accusations of breaking and entering to a vehicle. I informed the board that on advice of my lawyer, I don't discuss the matter further with any member of the board, as Linda being part of it and using her position for the purposes of harassment, opened the board as a whole to litigation and I was still weighing my options. The next day, I had a knock on my door. The board president had informed me that Linda was removed from the board and that she was given warning about her conduct and that any further harassment could result in proceedings to have her removed from the building. She also had a visit from police with a summons for providing a false statement and obstructing a peace officer. She then had to attend court. She pled guilty to both and was given a suspended sentence and 1-year condition not to harass, threaten, or intentionally inconvenience me in any way. If she abided by her conditions, she would receive an absolute discharge, meaning it would be removed from her record like it never happened. I moved to another province before her year was up, but for a brief period of time, I actually got to sleep in on Sunday morning. And before we end the video, we will read the funny story from r/PattyRevenge that you don't want to miss. It is titled "Friend deliberately disappeared from my life after graduation, so years later I screwed with their music." So I was friends with B throughout most of college. We were pretty close and would always hang out. I would drive them to places, we would organize and throw parties together, important for later, and I would help their partner out with a place to stay or rides whenever they visited, etc. It's safe to say I thought we were pretty good friends. Sometime during our final year, B, along with a few others, was part of a long and pretty nasty conflict with other people I was acquainted with. This conflict ended up being escalated to the school administration, and they ended up calling in everyone named as a potential witness to testify so they could have all sides and all info to make a decision regarding the situation. Throughout all of this, B would check in on me and encourage me to speak out, remind me of things that happened, and made sure our stories stayed consistent. Throughout this, I felt like I was being a good friend by speaking with the truth and defending my friends from attacks while making sure the other individuals involved would be held accountable for what happened. Fast forward to the week leading up to graduation, I was reaching out to a lot of people so that I could get a meal in with them before we all left for good. I tried reaching out to B and the group we were a part of so that we could get a meal together, but got no answer. After insisting, I was told that one of them, not the friend in question, was not allowed to hang out with people of my gender because their partner didn't allow it, so I didn't press the matter further. Decided that I would just try and see these people individually at some point, but spoiler alert, that never happened. Same thing happened with grad photos, didn't get any with B or that group. A few days after graduation, I went to send B something on social media, only to realize that I was blocked by them on everything. After talking to some other friends who'd been abroad, they confirmed that B told people after graduation that they were gonna use me to gain leverage during their troubles with the school admin and then block me, which was shocking to me because this person never showed any signs of disliking me, nor did anything happen for them to feel that way about me. All of this leads us to today when I found an old device that I haven't used in about 3 years. It turns out B had logged into Spotify on this device of mine for an event but never logged out, and after all this time I finally got a chance to enact some form of revenge. So I ended up deleting all of their playlists and unfollowing any and all artists and playlists they had saved. By the time I was done, they had no music left and had logged out of their accounts as to prevent anybody from knowing it was me. And yeah guys, if you enjoyed the stories, please don't forget to subscribe and I will see you again tomorrow.